Victoria is facing an economic day of reckoning, according to economists, because new data shows businesses in the state are closing their doors in record numbers and unemployment is continuing to rise.
So what we're observing is firms that can't compete anymore because their costs have gone up, either because of energy or because of industrial relations arrangements that make it hard for them to do what they need to do.
The cost of living is rising and families are paying the price.
Have you ever felt like you're walking a tightrope? One foot carefully in front of the other, slightest breeze, the smallest misstep, and it's all over. You're holding your breath, praying you make it to the other side. Now imagine an entire nation walking that same tightrope. That's Australia, right now, today. The International Monetary Fund, the world's economic emergency service, has looked at our books and their verdict is terrifying. They say Australia is on a narrow path to a soft landing, but the risks are all tilted to the downside. That's banker speak for one wrong move and we're stuffed. And we're not just talking about a little stumble, we're talking about a fall that could shatter everything we've taken for granted. The house, the job, the fair go, the entire Australian dream. Because under the surface, our economy isn't just sick, it's rotting from the inside out. And the people in charge, they're not just ignoring the stench, they're actively spraying air freshener on it, telling you everything's fine, while the floorboards are about to give way. This isn't a story about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is a story about a betrayal. A story about how the lucky country is being systematically dismantled, leaving millions of us standing on the edge of a cliff. And you won't hear the full, unfiltered truth about this on the nightly news. They're too busy serving up puff pieces for the government and their corporate mates. But here, we drag the truth into the light, kicking and screaming if we have to. If you believe in that mission, if you've had a gutful of the spin and the lies, then join our Patreon. It's the only way we can keep doing this. We are the Resistance, funded by you, not by the establishment. The link is in the description. Be a legend. It all starts with the biggest lie in Australian life, the housing market. For years, they've told you it's a one-way bet. Get in at any cost. But what they didn't tell you is that you weren't buying a house. You were signing up to be a debt slave. And I'm not the one saying it. The man who predicted the 2008 global financial crisis, Professor Steve Keen, has looked at Australia and he's sounding the alarm. He says our household debt has reached ridiculous levels. We are the second most indebted people on planet Earth, second only to the Swiss bankers. Our household debt is a staggering 112% of our entire national economy. Think about that. For every dollar of value this country produces, we personally owe more than $1 back to the banks. And how did we get here? Because the government, both sides of politics, has been force-feeding the bubble. Policies like the 5% deposit scheme.
The reason our economy can't grow anything like it used to is because our productivity is...
Which Steve Keen calls a con job, are designed to do one thing and one thing only. Keep house prices artificially high. Why? Because the top 5 of our 10 biggest companies are banks. Our government isn't a government, it's a real estate agency with a flag. As Keen says, they've labelled our Prime Minister the prime real estate agent. And here's the kicker. All that debt, all that money flooding into housing, it has to come from somewhere. It's being sucked out of the real economy. The cafes, the shops, the local businesses. As Keen puts it, everything's being sacrificed to keep house prices high. People are so crippled by their mortgages they can barely afford train tickets to get to work. This isn't a housing policy. It's a national suicide pact. And Keen's verdict is chilling. This is the last hurrah of a policy that only works if there are more people to drag into debt. The government can't do this again. The bomb is ticking. But the debt bomb is only half the story. The other half is even more terrifying because it's about our ability to pay it back. Back in 1986, Treasurer Paul Keating gave his famous Banana Republic speech. He warned that if we didn't reform, if we didn't start making things and being smarter, our economy would collapse and we'd be a third world country selling off our resources. That speech scared the hell out of the nation, and it sparked 2 decades of incredible reform that made us rich. Well, guess what? We're back. That moment is here again. Because Australia's productivity, the measure of how efficiently we create value, has completely and utterly flatlined. We are no more productive today than we were in 2016. For almost a decade, we have been running on the spot, going nowhere.
Today I announce that under a Labor government, you'll be able to buy your first home with just a 5% deposit.
And the result? Our living standards have collapsed. Over the past decade, the average living standard in the rich world went up by 22%. Ours? It went up by a pathetic 1.5%. We're being left in the dust. We used to be a standout. Now we're being relegated to the back of the pack. The engine of our prosperity has seized. And without productivity growth, you can't have wage growth. You can't have better services. You can't have a better life for your kids. All you can have is more debt, more taxes, and the slow, grinding erosion of the Australian dream. Deloitte, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world, has warned that our living standards will stay below pre-pandemic levels for the best part of a decade. This isn't a cycle. This is a structural collapse. And the government's response? An economic roundtable that economists called modest in scope, and a plan to maybe do something in 2028. 2028. It's a joke. A sick, cruel joke. So you have a nation drowning in debt, and you have a nation that's forgotten how to get richer. What happens when you put those two things together? You get a doom loop, a vicious cycle that feeds on itself, getting worse and worse until the whole system shatters. And we are in it right now. It works like this. 1. Australians are crippled by record debt, so they can't spend. The economy slows to a crawl. Our GDP growth is the weakest it's been since 1992 outside of COVID. 2, as the economy slows, businesses start to struggle. They stop hiring. They start firing. Unemployment, which the government bragged about for years, has started its inevitable climb, hitting 4.5%. 3, people losing their jobs can't pay their mortgages. Mortgage stress, which is already at record highs, goes critical. People start defaulting. 4, this is the moment the Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock warned could end in tears. A wave of defaults could trigger a housing market correction. Not a dip, a crash. The bubble we've sacrificed everything for could finally pop. 5, a housing crash would detonate the debt bomb, threatening the stability of our entire financial system. The big banks, the ones our government has protected for so long, could be at risk. 6, this would force the RBA to slash interest rates to 0 in a panic, trying to stop the bleeding. But it's too late. And here's the final brutal twist. Just a few weeks ago, everyone was expecting rate cuts. But now, inflation is proving sticky. It's not going away. Some experts are now saying rate cuts are dead, and we could even see another hike. The RBA is trapped. If they keep rates high to fight inflation, they'll crush the economy and accelerate the doom loop. If they cut rates to save the economy, inflation could come roaring back, making the cost of living crisis even worse. There is no easy way out. The narrow path has all but disappeared. We are walking a razor's edge, and the fall is a long, long way down. So how did we get here? How did the lucky country end up in a doom loop, facing a debt crisis, a productivity crisis, and a living standards catastrophe all at once? The answer is simple. We have been betrayed. Betrayed by a political class on both sides that is completely captured by the banks and the property industry. They have sold our future for the sake of keeping a housing bubble inflated, because it's the only lazy, pathetic trick they have left to create the illusion of wealth. Betrayed by a government that has no appetite for the hard reforms we desperately need. A government that holds a round table and comes up with nothing but a plan to abolish 500 tariffs. It's like trying to fix a sinking Titanic with a bucket and spade. Betrayed by a system that is sacrificing an entire generation of young Australians on the altar of high house prices. A system that Deloitte says has created a significant and worsening crisis for the health and wealth of our kids. This isn't an accident, it's a choice. A choice to protect the interests of the few over the prosperity of the many. A choice to abandon the future in favour of propping up the failures of the past. We're at our banana republic moment. The warnings are flashing red. The man who saw the GFC coming is screaming from the rooftops. The IMF is telling us we're on a knife's edge. The RBA governor is warning it could all end in tears. And our leaders? They're telling us not to worry. They're telling us everything is fine. They are lying to you. This is the real state of our nation. A house of cards built on a mountain of debt, waiting for the slightest breeze to bring it all crashing down. Don't let them tell you it's not happening. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking you're the crazy one. You can feel it. I can feel it. The system is broken, and the only way to fix it is to first have the courage to admit it, to look the ugly truth right in the eye. If you're ready to do that, then you're in the right place. Join our Patreon, share this video, because the first step in taking our country back is waking everyone else up. To see the latest Australian crisis, click this video here.